Hi everybody, welcome to another of my daily readings of my stories. I'm currently reading my first book, The Last Wild, every weekday at 2:30, and depending how long this goes on for, I will finish with my latest book, The Frozen Sea, my sixth book. Thank you all for tuning in. Just a reminder where we've got to if you're just joining for the first time. I'm reading The Last Wild. Because these recordings have a time limit of about 15 minutes, I've had to chop and change the chapters a bit, so I'm not always exactly on the chapter. So just so you know, we're currently at page 66 in part 2 of The Last Wild. We're currently at page 66 if you're reading along, and I'm going to read the second half of chapter 7 and chapter 8 today, and then we'll be back onto normal chapters tomorrow. It's because some of the chapters are an uneven length. I've also noticed in the comments sometimes people have issues with the sync. And that's, if you don't know, that's the timing between my lips and the sound you're hearing. I'm sorry if that's occasionally out. I have absolutely no control over it whatsoever. It's fine on the videos when I play them back, so it must be something to do with your connection at home. So if you're following the story so far, what's happened to Kester Janes, our hero, is he can't speak to people since his mum died 6 years ago. He's discovered he can speak to animals in a world without animals. They've all been killed off by a mysterious virus. And he's been trapped in this horrid school, Spectrum Hall, run by Facto, who make all the world's food. Now there aren't any animals, which makes them so powerful they run everything. And he's been broken out of this school by some pigeons and cockroaches and flown to a mysterious lake, where he's discovered he's not alone, and he's just been joined by a great stag. And that is where we pick up the story this afternoon. So I hope you're well, and I hope you're sitting comfortably. A stag. I had heard of them, but to see a real one right in front of me, enormous, dark brown, twice the height of any other animal here, with wide horns jabbing and curving in all different directions. He takes a few steps towards me and all the other creatures part to make way for him, like he's the king. He lowers his head. I flinch back against the rock, trying not to breathe or touch him. But he doesn't gore me. He sniffs me. He sniffs my hair and face and hands, all over, inhaling every inch. When he next speaks, his voice is soft. This old stag humbly asks you for your forgiveness, but I am the one who summoned you here. I sent the pigeons to help the cockroach. I don't understand. Why? I mean, how are you even still... But I can't say the word. It sounds wrong. The stag raises himself to his full height once more. It's hard to read his face. I can't tell if he's smiling or frowning. Alive? Look around you, man-child. Tell me what you see. A lake? A load of animals? I swallow, not daring to look him in the eye. The next words come out in a whisper. Animals that should be dead. He makes a noise at the back of his throat, part cough, part chuckle, and looks out over the crowd. Yes, we should be. But we're not. At least, not yet. He tosses his head towards the forest we just flew over, the horns catching the sun. His words are strange and old-fashioned, almost like he's speaking a different language. I am the wilderness, and these creatures are my wild, the last gathering of animals left alive. Once we roamed far and wide for many strides all over this island, until your sickness came and destroyed so many. The creatures you see before you are the last who remain, each sent by their kind to form this wild and keep their blood alive, in response to my call. I led us as far north as the ground went, and found this hide-all, a ring of trees, free from humans and disease. It is all we have left. We are the last. The last wild. He pauses and must see the expression on my face. You are surprised, I think, to hear me call it your sickness. Right now, that's the least of my worries. I'm surprised you brought me here. I thought the birds were going to take me home. Fear not. We do not expect you to stay here. Even if you desired so, we would not permit it. No, the reason I have had you brought to us will soon be plain to see. He looks down at the ground. We thought we had found safety here. We thought we were protected, but we were wrong. I get a bad feeling in the bottom of my stomach and step back. The stag bellows deep from his chest, a barking roar which sounds half like he's in pain, half like he's super angry. This close up it's definitely deafening. His teeth are all cracked and worn down, with scraps of twig stuck between them. In response to his bark, there's a kerfuffle of barging and pushing among the crowd of animals as they make way for some new arrivals. Another deer, a badger, a goat and a scruffy black bird with huge wings dragging along the ground line up in front of the stag, their heads bowed like they're embarrassed about something. I hadn't noticed these ones before. It's like they were hiding at the back of the crowd out of sight. He stalks up to them, touches each one of them gently with his snout and turns back to me. 2 moons ago, a fierce wind blew in what we feared the most. I don't want to know. I don't want to look. You have nothing to fear. Please, come. I put my sleeve over my nose and mouth and edge round to the other side of the rock. I don't want to go any closer, and I don't need to. I'm not my dad. I'm no vet, but even I can see from here that these animals are not well. They aren't hanging their heads in shame. They're hanging their heads because they're weak and exhausted. I thought the first deer I saw looked a bit skinny, but these poor things have fur and feathers coming out in great clumps. The skin underneath looks yellow and flaky, bones pressing against it. Look closer still, commands the stag in his craggy voice. You cannot catch it from looking. Still barely daring to breathe, I go a few steps nearer. As I do, they all look up. The deer, the badger, the goat and the bedraggled black bird. I stop dead in my tracks as I see their eyes. The eyes that are all red, bright red and burning with light. The Last Wild, Chapter 8. Our name for it is Berry Eye, says the stag. The berry eye are themselves the final mark before a great heat savages them from within. These ones do not have long. The plague moves from beast to beast with the greatest of ease. No water, no leaf, no amount of rest can bring relief. As if the virus itself is listening, the she-deer standing in front of him is racked by a huge cough, her skinny body spasming and shuddering before her legs give way, and she collapses onto the ground. The other deer crowd round, nudging her back up again while the stag watches. It is a mystery to us in every way, but we cannot allow it to spread further. After these have gone, then it will be the turn of others, and then we will all be gone. This sickness will not stop until it has driven us from the earth, and then... He stops abruptly like he was going to say something else, but he doesn't. He just looks up at the sky. The first bright sky I have seen for years. The first sky with a sun not filled with dark clouds. I can't believe he's saying that they're going to die right in front of them, but the infected animals don't even blink. I take a step back. Why are you showing me? What do you expect me to do about it? The words sound harder outside my head than they did inside, but I didn't mean them to. The stag shakes his horn like he's astonished. A murmur runs through the crowd. Why do you think, young human? Because you can help us to find a cure. But I'm just a boy. I mean, the best scientists in the world, they've tried and... You are a boy who can hear us and speak for us. You can tell your fellow men that the last wild still lives and bring us a cure. A special cure from your human magic. Human magic that has failed so far. But I can't. Talk to other humans, I mean. The human has many ways of making himself understood, of that I'm sure. The stag bends his head and front legs like he's bowing. but we only have you. I have one last try. I still don't understand why you chose me. You spoke to us. You spoke to the moth, the cockroach. You have the gift of the voice. I shake my head. That's what the pigeon said in my room, but I don't have any gift, apart from getting further and further away from home, it seems. The stag fixes me squarely in the eye. When we heard that there was a boy who tried to talk to us, we decided to summon you here. I wasn't trying to talk to them, I was... The words falter in my head before they are out as I look at the last animals left in the world, led by a great stag, all waiting on me. He repeats himself one more time. The question is, now you are here, will you help us? I look around at the rock behind me, the dark water beyond, the silver trees stretching on for miles around its edge, the middle of nowhere full of animals with red eye, animals who will die if I don't help them. The last animals ever. A wild, he called them. I think some more. There is one small chance, so small, but it is the only chance they have. I take a step towards the stag, and I say it. I don't have the magic to find a cure for the berry-eye. The animals cry out in despair. But my father is a famous scientist, a human magician who works with animals. He might be able to help. A buzz of chatter sweeps through the wild. The stag quiets them down and turns to me again. You're quite sure of this? You are sure your father's magic can cure the berry-eye? No, I'm not. 6 years have passed and I've heard nothing. People still live in cities under glass roofs eating facto-made formula. The countryside is still a quarantine, and as I can see right in front of me, the virus is still very much raging. But maybe in 6 years Dad has made some progress. I just nod, and to my surprise the animals scatter. The stag barks again. But they don't listen. They're panicking, stampeding. The sound of animals of all kinds trampling and splashing across the shore fills the air. What did I say? The stag lowers his head and growls like he's going to charge at me. Kester! Call all the pigeons from above. Look out! But it's too late. Thank you for listening. We're up to page 73 if you're reading along in The Last Wild. We'll have the next chapter tomorrow. I'm just going to leave you today with a little writing exercise. I chose the stag to be the leader of The Last Wild, the wilderness, because he was the most impressive animal I could think of, a British wildlife I could think of that I've ever seen to lead a wild. But if you had to make up your own wild, and the wild is a group of wild animals with a leader brought together for a reason, in this case a virus, who would you choose as leader of your wild? I want you to write a description of the animal you would choose to lead your wild. A short description. Think about how I described the stag, how big he was, how impressive he was, all that stuff. So describe your wildness for your wild. Thank you everyone for tuning in. And if you want to read the book, it's still available at Waterstones. So do pick up a copy there. In the meantime, I will see you all tomorrow at 2:30. Take care.